Yeah, okay, we are booked. I'm sorry that there's no internet. We sorry. We are booked. Solo domar chibe ja no bara chibe ge tarwa dang tam chi chimbe war tu ju bara chi tam chi je so chibe ma nam ka dang nyam be sim chen tam chi de wa dang den dung ar dang chi yor tu la na mi bara yang da bara zo be chang chu ren bo chi do bara cha da la dang bara chi be ja no bara chi be ge tar wa dang tam chi chen be war de ju bara chi ba tam so chi be ma nam ka dang nyam be sem chen tam chi de wa dang ben dong a dang chi nyo de la na mi bara yang da bara zo chang ju ren bo chi to bara cha
all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment.
当地主地气土桑玛吉吉花土龙啊一松给我来过了马西花土龙啊一松给我来过了土特人的松的女马桑他咱们吉花土龙啊一松给我来过。
For that purpose, until I attain Buddhahood, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. Until death, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. From today until this time tomorrow, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue.
真的，咱个做，咱俺一点那条我们都会那么上最头嘛，上地上过送。
Spencer, sorry, it has really a poor connection, not very good internet connection, so it took him a little while to log on.
真的，他这里让都让，可上天，他这样偏半没求就是，但是你让都让是比求就是这里多。他没被请他去吧，那把之前都错吧，但他在让都让你吧，因为是让他这请上就叫那些大米，边就是些大米。他就原来在请他去这哪子这长沙的家，他就去哪地上个来有的是边就刚刚刚去，真的出去啊，他用嘛是这说边就刚那刚刚忙不去，这让都是的这人这那学啥了。
So we come to the next set of teachings. So the 10 ways that bring your own disaster. So the first one is like an imbecile eating a strong poison, you bring on your own disaster by having a family without being able to provide for them. So that it addresses householders, and so here when you try to make a household, like having a spouse and a family and so forth, then it's often you're not able to provide for them financially, so you encounter difficulties in terms of that, and also because of these difficulties, you're left not being able to practice the Dharma.
球没被地块去吧，那你们把养了从完的，让都让去吧，因为他球没被地块去吧，现在真的是的。当从让到内地查考，这些球嘛，就能让他知道他别球的现在去你的偏见，呀，他把这起码偏见的，我这的钱都没，这在嘛就话这地块去的那这，你把做的出来些他要嘛了，长途不是说养成穷了个的，我真穷了，让都要买这查去了，那把看要嘛了。 我在哪里在说，我这块钱弄还有说那个给我买几个钱，这块钱的呢，说，穷家个的是个的是呢，说这些人眼中东啊，那说样个了哇，我真是说实的。
Next, like a madman jumping over the brink of an abyss, you bring on your own disaster by engaging in non-virtues without dharma. And so even if we understand, we have some understanding of what to do and what not to do of Dharma practice, but then if we're not really actually engaged in apply ourselves in Dharma practice with body, speech, and mind, but instead we just end up committing negative actions, then one is like a madman, like a crazy person who has lost the senses by jumping off a cliff. So like a mad person, but no, we don't think much about future lives and so on, and we just engage in negative action. So we are just like a mad person that has no senses. So they jump off the cliff without any sense of what that actually leads to next. But then once we are born in the lower realms, then we are the ones who then have ourselves. We have to experience that suffering there.
真的，他这里嘛从这。 现在说去吧，那图前开始也上这帮的，让都让去吧，因为 我在去气候这两年气候什么人个坡都去了，个主要做像他忙通他通，这忙通这样通，咱们这忙不在气候做谁，我些用到谁，咱们这个坡东所的就那特别的，其他的我在说破是的，我说破是在做我的要求的，个坡东呢，我说在咱们这个的我现在没人个坡东呀。我他说在第四那个上去是老要去的，我是绿气的呢，我的头脑看了这项那的在的去给了吧，我在这一个起码了，他没得什么破都说呢，最起码说，这让两个类似，这两对这让都让起的类似。
So then the next one. Like enjoying a poisoned meal, you bring on your own disaster by being a charlatan and deceiving other people. So, for example, there's some who are using the Dharma to obtain wealth and possessions, but like through deceiving others and trickery and pretense. So, for example, you're pretending that you saw the deity, or you're kind of lying to them and you're telling people that you saw the deity when you didn't really see the deity, or that you saw a spirit when that's not really true, or when you're pretending to have clairvoyant powers that you actually don't possess, and so on. Now, such a person is what we call a charlatan. So they may be able to speak really nicely to fool others, but that is just like eating food with poison. So it may bring you some pleasure at first. So maybe there is some temporary benefit now in this life, but then later after you die, then it leads to only suffering.
这就是没来这边最重要的那一件事的，这道推你们的说破就是的个我有了，就是没来看重要是呢，长白一当那一就是，说破人前这样的提示，说破人前这样的地方去给的是，说把说把人给多些个是，长白那一当那那一说把不给的是，说破这都的人前这样那一边没些人他全部是给的是。这说白这都人给多那一点刚被自动不用给的是讲的。
Nam ke do?
南瓜多这用呢？提纲嘛就恐怕讲不着个吧？提纲怕。
I me gang la.
但当中去个例子，就把他说，南瓜多这用那多别想多还可个啥？
你这
我提纲的，但南瓜多这用多是那上面提纲恐怕讲不着个吧？南瓜了呢？还会呗，多个制度，刚被子呢？
弟弟看能是的。
就把就我那些年在那里当中去个例什么是提纲的？
So there's Milarepa had said that now in the degenerate age, people they treat charlatans as so precious while looking down at true practitioners. And so the charlatans, they offer them up wealth and they venerate them like more than their own body, and they offer them gold and so on. But then a real Dharma, like a Yidam deity, and then the real Dharma practitioner, they treat them like the kind of the rocks under their feet. Like you walk, they're basically just walking over them, walking on them, so they're looking down on them.
真的，他来穷没碰起吧？那个么，除了用完的，让都让起吧意思。他们来把穷就有呢，这帮不行，别个来了，过什么穷没有嘛了哇？这什么帮不起个，别什么咱们这当拍卡子，其他说卡子，其他的咱们的，我别怎么去拖过样的，这可能别个来这个哇。我这个的，他别强调下的，他根本在路程中间呢，他根本路全部楼梯、桥楼梯都要不。所以起头个嘛，根本弱头个嘛，哇！这楼梯都最近要不起头个嘛，这个类别根本嘛，最近楼梯都人看我就讲可以设计先先把这设计的上体动啊，刚刚嘛不有了，这那一，所以他们得把穷就有呢，那提起可能身体别进步了，也是帮不起的，买进的个也送去啥的，让都让起的，这些帮不起，所以别动让个是。
So then the next one, like an infirm old lady trying to herd cattle, you bring on your own disaster by childishly acting as a leader for others. So is he saying that? So I guess small-minded, a small-minded person that acts like a leader is like an old woman like herding cattle. It's essentially self-inflicted suffering. And so why? Because so a small-minded person is someone who is a sort of wants to like be the leader of everyone. They sort of get involved in everything. They have like they want to know about everything, what's going on. They worry about everything. They just have their nose in everything. But then that also leads them to to like have all because they have a small mind. It also leads them to have all kinds of um you know like worries and like something that something is going to happen to them because they're not actually true leaders, but somehow they kind of think they are. And so that is just like an old woman who is trying to herd cattle. When an old woman tries to herd cattle, then because that is not a suitable a duty for an old woman, and then of course she's constantly afraid and worried that maybe animals are going to hurt her or something is going to happen, and it's just not a suitable thing for her to do. And so in the same way, a small-minded person who always tries to involve themselves in everything, and then in the end just ends up torturing themselves about what is all happening. So without any this discrimination in their mind, it's essentially they inflict suffering upon themselves.
大三的行动没记把秋季让动总把那龙王强汤可不完这的让都让七八因是难多。但他三在先偏他怎么弄明白起，在拍着电呢在先偏又不怎么弄起，所以今天秋季每年到托可是，我这时候怎么弄讲嘛？别从起的呢？在龙王强汤着的那里，在龙王强汤的如果呢，没龙东在强汤没有嘛的，在肯定如果我说过嘛是吧？我说嘛，他肯定说过，这说，这些写这个来的，可第二三那批长毛有的，有的话长汤那批长毛有，咱们这节前这投这个的，没啥节前投啥个的话下次，就那些穷样的，可能搞来是别去看个来，对，我在哪一类是看的是呢？他说，在现在怎么的马汤话去，说今天秋季在每年的或啥怎么在怎么去吧，当地。我提起现在其他说偏头他妈的是搞的是那个的，说没在那里，有人不晓得这要嘛，把他的金把什么当地呢？说是别搞嘞，这样子，但是 drop 嘛，都别搞嘞有的，是吧？好 drop to 里往当嘛娘着就是这么搞嘞有的，我这对说，让都让起来的是，是吧？今天出去都这边搞嘞有的，再 drop to 的 this drop to 那娘着就是这么搞嘞有，但这起的。
And the next one, like a blind man roaming the northern plains, you bring on your own disaster by being self-serving and motivated by the 8 worldly concerns without acting for the welfare of others with pure motivation. So instead of acting for the benefit of others with an altruistic, a pure motivation, if one only works for one's own personal gain, if one is driven by the 8 worldly concerns, fame and praise and status and comfort and so forth, then one is like a blind person wandering, like roaming the plains. So the northern plains here is like the north, the Tibetan plains where the weather is very cold. And so when you're blind and you are wandering blind in those northern plains, then you first of all you freeze and then you don't know where to go because you're blind. So then that could actually kill you. The cold can actually kill you, and wild animal may attack you because you're blind. And then also you eventually get really exhausted from like wandering around there. And so similarly, if your thoughts never really turn toward benefiting others, and constantly everything revolves around your own self-interest, your own fame, your own status, your possessions and so forth. And all of these efforts, they only exhaust you and bring no true results. And so first of all, you always worry that you might not gain or accomplish something. And then even if you accomplish it, then that can easily be lost again. And so in the end, it becomes kind of a cycle of self-inflicted suffering.
전에 다 면도배 제가 셈보치란 조반은 염중 크루고 코로한다 랑도랑 시바레스 어다 면도배 제가 자 something 가서 면도배 제가 쉬고 좀도 자신 보시고 당에 상시치 좀 뭐 요요 뭐 가지 되는 도안 제가 침 보시고 그제 소소 파 카르 소탑되는 하나님 치투사 밀판이나 세만 자신 보다 노스 지동이죠 자신 보도 그제 something 되는 좀만 거냐 뭐 가지 자신 보시고 지동이죠 단 그냥 세티게 장 당사 말이 우리 지리
당사 말이
가 메시케 나사 근데 좀 이거 되는 거는 가능한 나상 삼삼삼도 좀 뭐까지 또 그래 너무 여러 왔다 어떤 요래 하다 왔다 근데 이제穷呢 북제 노리 첨부 스코어나 냠충센다 북 충충제 노리 첨부 스코어 조금 알아 북디 북 충충제 노리 첨부 스코어디나 조금 알아 왔다 뭐쇼 양은 뭐쇼 추는 매조제 노리 첨부 스코어는 조금 알아我在那几日是在所上都让起的嘞，啥在修是启动的家庭不修期间的嘛的，只要 drop 这个嘛的，所种女把啦，把手现在也修的是么样子，啥子，启动的那个可不要哇，嘛的。
So then, in the next verse, like a weakling trying to carry a big load, you bring on your own disaster by grabbing for grandeur and unreachable feats. So sometimes people they have all kinds of great aspirations and intentions and doing many great things. And we usually have heard that so many people talk about, like, I'm going to do this great thing. They have all these ideas of the things that they want to do, but if you really think about it, their lifespan is not even enough to actually do all of these things. So while it is thinking about all these things, there's not even enough time to accomplish all of these things. And so thinking in that way is being like I guess a small child wearing an enormous cloak. So they just anyways kind of stumble under the weight of that cloak. So when you take on that so many tasks that are simply beyond your ability, and you end up never completing them, and again you have this cycle of self-inflicted suffering, and so therefore it's better to be a little bit like reasonable with one's intentions.
다 되네 되다 저베 까타 라메 저바 ngajar ke lame ka ta lame lama ta ba ta 저베 ka chi zo ba ne pang bo chi ndu ma dor ba ta pang bo chi ndu ma dor ba anda de ran do ran shi ba is wo ta ngajar chen bo ma ka ye de yo le be ngajar chen bo le lama yin na za zen tong chung de chi de sang jie ga so za chi ma shi la za sang jie ga so de zo de lam nian mang bo de la de ne wo这程度气度是在气候的啥卡的，真的，他上去干嘛去？那嘛这个嘛的话噻，程度气呢，俺家去的，没得像通讯气，程度上去干他说切数气，上去干他说的，他一千米做的，人家没得忙不多挺长，我让这些我运动多7多年，程度没忙不有的，这可是忙不起什么别没往家进步的这，往家进步的，往不你做出步做熊的起码这，蛮这呢。真的蛮累，那好可能你不别感觉有啥东西的，在那一些种说啥的。假如你在前期刚出国说熊，那第四蛮累，好工作干的变多，奔波说，说这个的说上趟这嘛头的说，我感觉这过那会感觉别个的是说这嘛头，他不在这个这小大家分工作怎么的啊？对嘛，怕人拖松呢，在这小怕拖松呢，别东西多工作。他平常忙不有的奔波，在那一类是那个说是这位个的那嘛这种通讯企业这个说俺家些呢，说让都让起的嘞是这别想着想那他那嘛上天个这种不都也是那这要嘛的，说的个啥的话，这对这个啥的说的这个就在年松用的嘞，这年松用呢， 소소소 누구리면서 이게 몇십 번 지나 봐요 말와.
So then the next verse, 7, like losing the company of a powerful guide, you bring on your own disaster by arrogantly belittling the words of a sublime guru and the Buddha. And there's a lot of people actually like that. Those people essentially are full of pride, and because they are full of pride and very arrogant, they look down even on their own lamas, their own teachers, and they don't truly value the words of the Buddha. And so if somebody doesn't actually value or consider respect the words of the Buddha, and then obviously they also won't respect the Lama either. Even if they have a Lama, they still, in their words, look down on them, and they still think that they know it best, that they know it better. And there are actually a lot of people like that nowadays. A lot of people, especially when they kind of have kind of more power, more influence, then they often may have power but little humility. So there are, for example, there are some like government officials or kind of high people like commanders and so on, leaders who first maybe they kind of form alliances and they are like best friends, but then something else happens, and instantly they're in conflict and they're looking down at each other, they're arguing and fighting. Even if they start out really strong, then it ends again in suffering, because that's the kind of the problem that leaders often have, is they are very full of themselves and arrogant, and they just think that they are better than anyone else, and they know it all better. So if anyone does something they don't approve of, then again it changes instantly and everything collapses. So that we see a lot actually nowadays, and all of that is a cycle of self-inflicted suffering. And then all the negativity, the negative karma that we create by looking down on others will cause us to fall into the lower realms. So those people that we humiliated, they are not the ones that will actually experience any of those results. You are then the one, or that person is the one who actually will experience suffering. So therefore, this is a self-inflicted cycle of suffering.
真正娘们说的，没那冲浪这边，那是大龙头花板这的，让都让七百意思。那你妈这种的这意思这娘们的这些，我再听出这些下去，他这里接他把这嘛，这冲被拿送，这在冲球这些人家们这单独嘛，些天人做，某些有些的人家们这忙不这些样，我是说去，某的这一个人家们这忙不去，呀我说，我是说去，真的说娘们这情嘛的，这个原因。 我那些咱娘们在门头去过呀，别开心不的。他经常要都上班开些，听着拉到，但上地产也是在，你嘛通啥了的给钱的。我听着就通着呀，确实有嘛的，我上马街还是说娘们去过学的。我这但是上街都那家他通啥的，现在这个吧，他妈都通的就是家有嘛，上通啥的种，那边多挺可以。我这里这日大龙的话，这日大龙是日大组织这个嘛，汤话说呢，这没这是做这个的哇。 知道是做个哇，熊人在嘛地嘛熊和就变的嘛，从把这七天说这个没说这个咱们这有的话和那是用个哇，我真的一旦让都让说这就就让你们俩是别花气，掐真的你们俩起码多把气，我这块气我掐的也是这说让都让七八的也是啊。
Then the next verse. Like a mountain deer descending into the valley, you bring on your own disaster by postponing your practice to rove through the towns of common people. So somebody might have spent some time in practice. They might have spent some time in retreat and actually have done some practice. But then they get out of retreat and then they return to their town, their villages, and then maybe they go around performing various ceremonies for people because now they have graduated from their retreat and they are pretending to have all kinds of powers or clairvoyances, and they're doing divinations for people and so forth. And essentially, they are distracted by all of these activities and stop actually practicing. And then that's actually happened also a lot today, because what's really actually important is this consistent practice. It's not that you kind of check that off once you're done with your retreat. And often people who have done a retreat, they say, I have completed my retreat. But actually, that's in a way a bit mistaken, because you're never completed anything until you attain enlightenment. So when you actually reach enlightenment, then you can say, now I have completed, or I've graduated, so to speak. Then you're sort of done with the practice, but only then. And until then, you actually never really done. You never really completed your practice. And so, however, and if you cannot stay in your practice, then you're like a wild like mountain animals that is kind of falling like down the cliff into a river, and then you're kind of helplessly swept away. And so then if you leave and then if you leave that place, then maybe you will be attacked by other animals and so on. So anyways, if you leave your mountain retreat, then all kinds of dangerous things can happen. So if a practitioner leaves the retreat and then gets caught up in all kinds of activities, then the practice fades away. And so therefore it's important to sustain consistency of practice, because otherwise you will soon find yourself caught up in this cycle of worldly activities, which is self-inflicted suffering.
他这就这咱纽约一些没讲完，对这英文去吧呢，他等有话才差点的，让都让去吧意思。我他的纽约一些产品内容，他这是我写吧去，我这你们买几吧去。这三个都是三个人拿在床着呀，让我从家呀，让我这来看来呀，让我这把成就呢，严一点呢，别讲的是钱有把钱送，这钱能话不都有嘛哇？我这个让都让去吧的是的，所以说你们两个嘛对从那这，然后钱了，你们这先不看的是原因，但你们去做不嘛的是的，他说他们今天被公报做特别别个来考的，是的，的，这是这。kale khabore sen du de rando ran chi pare se ma nyamna de si ma te nyamne mu tu jong yo ma ro te ma jong de ta te lu chan do gres cha nam ka thong sa ma lu ya ma yo ma ro yo pa cha so na te na yi te so so ma ni song som la so je se gres nyamne ma ji yang ga chi sti na.
And then verse number 9, like a Garuda breaking its wings, you bring on your own disaster by getting getting carried away by distractions instead of sustained innate wakefulness. So someone may have gained some experience in the nature of the mind. They may have gained an understanding of the nature of the mind, but if you don't actually practice and always stay busy with going around, turn to town, doing business, doing this and that, then you're like a bird. You become like a bird with a broken wing. A bird with a broken wing can't fly. So even you have that understanding, it doesn't really help you without any practice. If the mind still becomes distracted again, then the state of liberation becomes very hard to reach, and that is a self-inflicted cycle of suffering. So a bird with a broken wing will just fall to the ground because it doesn't have the strength to fly. And in the same way, if you neglect your practice, then you could fall into the lower realms.
我打真就这罗那马上光说了，过了把米头就把那就没大看个把他的让都让七百意思。我在那马的话，他光说真的，他是别抢着公办的去，那他是求那说吧，他这求播的那说的古松图片那说有了哇。我当时让求把去年，那么求把去年，我在里面过了个，那边就让我在他的公办票下就这有了哇。我这是过了个，这我这样的，他毕竟没想把这个是他跑的嘛，他公别来看人家让我有了哇。我公别来看这个，他说可这没种，但是没这种可的是呢， 这样在普及呢，在可能现在的起码从嘛偏给的上别个他是那么大钱的可能说搞了一条晓得普学了吧，或者普学了，晓得普学都是黄米从大没的，黄米现在在看就忙就写当，出拉当，这给咱们把这咱们的出拉当地当呢，这也不有嘛的是，不穷没大干吧是，不穷没大干是不穷穷的，我就让同学，我他个的啥他个说上同学去了。
Ano sa atakwa
他个同学，我这嘛没，
di me sasara
我没要吃过啥的啥个多那说上多，我差不多了，这嘛没养啥的有了，没养啥的，没什么没同啥没同还没了，相对这那都嘛同啥的有了，我这那的嘛同这那是忙其实没的。呀，不是说还没我都在一起看那种这个，不是不写起来的不穷穷结婚呢，这个我这样说的，这看刚的也得看什么菜，这没事那没事出来着，应该有的哇，没事出来着，应该有的。我这哪一点是那说这路行没去那说，然后让其他说的，这样的这准备这边就是说别啥子去过的老晓得。
And then verse number 10, like a small child, I'm trying to eat embers. You bring on your own disaster by heedlessly enjoying the funds of your guru and the 3 jewels. So what I refers to is that, so if one, for example, works at a monastery, or one kind of has this access to various offerings that have been made to the monastery or to the lama, to the 3 jewels, and then if you consume or use these offerings for your like, personal aims, then that brings that is a great fault, and that is actually a graver fault than just generally misusing something, because these offerings were made with very pure intentions by these donors. They had hopes that it will benefit this in future lives, and really they trust that it will be used only virtuously. And so that's why this becomes a very kind of grave, a very significant possession. And then if these kind of possessions, these offerings are just wasted or used for unwholesome things, then that is how one inflicts suffering upon oneself, which is, it says here, it's like a small child swallowing live embers. So no, you have like these live coals that's still kind of burning in a stove, and so why before he goes out of the chimney and is still in the stove, you still have this hot ember, hot coal, and so a child who doesn't know that, they might mistake that for something they can put into their mouth, and they put it in their mouth, and then that will burn them terribly. And so in the same way, ignorantly using these sacred offerings carelessly or for one's selfish purposes, that only brings more suffering. So it is a cycle of self-inflicted suffering. And so therefore it is advised that one treats these kind of offerings, these kind of offerings made by those donors to the 3 jewels with great care.
真的，他真的就是查出去决策去想的了吧？这咱社会的嘛，把其他人就是社会的嘛，没是像的哈罗运动过中多不？要么这期真的七八吨了有。
So then we stop the teachings here for today, since we finished this set. And regarding next Friday, I actually asked Drupon if I can have the Friday off because it's Halloween, and my son really wants to go trick-or-treating. So I want to go trick-or-treating with him. So therefore next week we will not have the class, but we have it again on the 7th. Thank you.
真的，有的时候有这听着一个去想的了，一面的当下，我们就。
Elizabeth, if you're here, can you let people know? Maybe send out a message.
Send out that we won't have it next week, right?
Yeah.
Next week, c'est pas d'une, c'est vrai.
But on the 7th, we have class again.
Okay.
No,
Then the next week, the 14th, the 14th, is it okay to do the empowerment at 7, or do we need a different time?
It's Teva Chup. Oh,
원래 나 지난번에 소식 원래 사이가 다 시작 이 주사제 대다 뭐 지난번에 소식 한 적이가 되더라. 지난번에 다.
yeah.
이나 지금 계좌 이나 되고 되는데 이나 계좌로 와.
So it says so it says about that schedule. It says that, you and me can just work together. So basically, you can decide whatever schedule works best, and then you just talk to me about my schedule, and then we work it out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, 这经常说看这个三个这相当于基本说才能证明的啦，没人拿了才在对手是来有嘛的话。
Because right now, like Drupon is a little bit busy, doesn't really have much time, and so he doesn't want to hoard up the scheduling process. But then later, maybe say it's like change something or whatever. He doesn't want to do that. So you can just decide. But Drupon, the weekend la the katu yore teo chunga chuduk.
就是주반에 이제 주반 6세 중에 있어.
쇼크 추칭이 시도 추칭이 된다 버려.
저도 좀 신도.
쇼크 추칭이 시도 추칭
좀 스페셜이로 그런 뭐 계좌 지금 계좌에 사빈반이라 제 계좌에 지대로.
오케이.
예, 보세요.
오케이.
야, 오케이. Thank you. 야, 드리게. 지금 좀
Thank you.
Glorious, holy, venerable, precious, kind, rude, and lineage lamas, divine assembly of yidams and assemblies of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, heroes, and heroines, yogini and assembly of dakinis dwelling in the 10 directions, please heed me. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may I benefit all sentient beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of desire, hatred, ignorance, pride, and jealousy not arise within my mind. May thoughts of fame, reputation, wealth, honor, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind stream be moistened by loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, and through that may I become a spiritual master with good qualities equal to the infinity of space. May I gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. Even at death, may the torment of suffering not arise. May I not die with negative thoughts. May I not die confused by wrong view. May I not experience an untimely death. May I die joyfully and happily in the great luminosity of the mind as such, and in the pervasive clarity of Dharmata. May I, in any case, gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra at the time of death or in the bardo.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.
됐습니다.
괜찮아. Hi, Elizabeth.
Happy Halloween, trick-or-treating.
Thank you. Happy Halloween. I'm sorry. How's it go? with my son.
Yeah.
He's so excited.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rinala.